Okay. Hey everybody, this is Angie from Little Dumplings Nursery, and this is Saturday. Let's see, October the 22nd, and I'm going to do a live box opening of some painting products here. I'm going to give this just a minute to see if anybody joins me. Um, and I'm going to step out of the screen just for a second to go look at my monitor to see if I can figure out where the comments would be. Hang on. Okay, I think I've got where I can see the comments on my screen now, over on my desktop. Okay. Hi, whomever's watching me, feel free to comment. I can see the comments on my monitor in the background there now, so I know I can read them. So, as I said before, my name is Angie. For those of you that don't know me, I am the artist behind Little Dumplings Nursery. I have been making reborn dolls since 2004, and I used to do a lot of YouTube videos, and then YouTube, it kind of got hard for me to do them because of the way that they were uploaded and that kind of thing, and so anyhow, I gravitated over to doing Facebook Live. I'm not exactly a huge fan of the whole Facebook Live format these days. It seems like the videos are hard to see, but I've had a lot of requests to come back to YouTube, so we're going to try this today, and I'm going to be posting the link on Facebook for those that are watching there. They can watch it after the fact. Um, so a little bit about me. I have been painting, like I said, since 2004, and I started out when we were using oil paints, like traditional oil paints, on our dolls. People were painting the insides purple, taking Behringers apart, stripping them down. Been through a lot of that stuff. It's kind of a funny history. Along the way, Genesis came out, and I tried Genesis, and I love the Genesis system, but I have a very sensitive respiratory system, and over time, I developed a huge sensitivity to odorless thinners, which continuously got worse. And so I was having a hard time using the Genesis. And so then I went down the air dry painting route, and I did that for many years. And I've done a lot of research on air dry paints, painted a lot of babies with air dry paints. They have their good points and their bad points, just like anything else. But in the last year or so, I just got really bored with using the air dry paints. I wanted something different. I wanted a new challenge. And so I began to investigate again Genesis, because I knew you could paint with the Genesis thinner, and that didn't bother me. But you couldn't get the paint, but only so thin with that, because you can't use but so much in the ratio. So anyway, in a process, I'd heard about using citrus thinners, and years ago I had actually tried one called Zest It, and at that time you had to order it through the UK, and I got some. It was very expensive, a little for a little 4 ounce bottle, and it worked. Had a very strong orange scent. The smell was pleasant until you start using it, and the more you painted, the more the orange was overwhelming, and so that wasn't exactly the best fit. My family could smell it, and so and it was just expensive, so I kind of went back to air dry. But this year I found out about a product that's probably been around, but it's just new to me finding out about it. So I want to share this with you all. I mentioned it before. This is what I'm using now. And this is by Eco House, and it's called Extra Mild Citrus Thinner. So this says that it can be used to is a solvent, extra mild low toxicity solvent. So does that mean it's totally safe and not toxic? Um, there are some minimal health risks with using any solvent, including odorless thinner. So you have to decide if that's for you or not. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. But anyway, um, It's for thinning and cleaning up of oil-based paints, oils, and waxes. Includes in most artist oil paints, mixed with solvents and thinners, and used in a well-ventilated area. And it is a flammable liquid, like odorless thinner. It's very much like odorless thinner, but as far as environmentally, what it does and that kind of thing, it's no more harmful than odorless thinner and that kind of thing. So the smell of this, it does have a very light citrus smell. It does not bother me. Now, I had COVID back when COVID first started, and it was the like 2 years ago when it was truly the horrible kind of COVID, not the watered down version that's going around now. And I still have, any of you all see me talk, after a while I start coughing. I still will have a cough off and on. Just have had it ever since. But anyway, since I had COVID, I lost my sense of smell during COVID, and it has come back, but it's not 100% what it was. So I may or may not smell this the way it totally is, but I can tell you that even what I can't smell, brain wise, will still bother me breathing wise. So, like, I pulled out some of my odorless thinner that I still had left over from when I used to paint with Genesis. And even though it doesn't have a smell, I started painting with it, and I immediately, just within an hour, my throat was burning really bad. I was coughing really bad. My eyes were swelling and itching really bad, and it just wrecked me. And I just could not use it. And it seemed to me like the response was even worse than it has been. So for me, this is working great. I did call them and ask them about heating it. They said as long as you let it flash off, it has a similar flash point odorless thinner. And she said there should not be any problem with using it the way I was using it. So I've been very, very happy with this. And there's a reason why I wanted to go into this, and you'll see more about that in a minute. So I want to tell you a little bit about this box opening and this products that I'm going to be opening up. This is, excuse me, some heat set products, the new heat setting agent and whatnot that Shelly Marie has developed, and they're being sold through McPherson's Arts and Crafts and under the McPherson's label. And I knew that Shelly Marie was working on this for a good long while now. And to tell you a little bit about Shelly Marie, she is an artist, but she is also schooled in she is schooled in chemistry as well as art history. So she is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the chemistry behind the products that we use, as well as the history behind the art, to know what has been done over long periods of time, what has worked, what hasn't, what has caused reactions, and that kind of thing. When I met her in 2017, I met her at an IDS show, and they were running their Reborn Effects paints, air dry paints line, and I had been asked to test some of those products, and then I got to actually meet her, and we just hit it off really well. And she's someone I have bounced off ideas ever since, back and forth with her. We both love to test things and talk about things, and we don't just test their products. We test everybody, a lot of stuff out there. So she is my friend. She is an artist. She is part chemist, and she works for McPherson. So my relationship with her is first and foremost friendship and artist to artist. And so when she asked me to test things that she is working on, it is more on the basis of our friendship relationship. It is not, I don't have any kind of contract with McPherson's. I don't have any loyalty to McPherson's over anybody else. This is nothing to do with them as a company. It's nothing against them as a company either that I state that. I'm just saying that I don't have anything I say, any opinions I give out are mine based on my experiences. They're not anything being said to promote or discredit anything for anybody else. And anyone else out there who is developing products, and you want someone to test it, I am always happy to do so. I have had a lot of things sent to me over the years from different companies to test, and it's been a lot of fun. And I will do little videos, and I will give honest opinions on it. And if I like it, I'll tell you. And if I don't, I'll tell you that too. So having said all that, I want to make it very clear that that's why I'm doing this, is that this is an opportunity that was given to me for my honest opinion, and nothing more. So let me go ahead and open this up, and we'll talk more about what's inside, because I know kind of what's in here, but I don't know everything that's in here. I have obviously not seen it. And I'll try not to cough all over y'all. I should have brought me a drink or a mint. Ooh, this thing's taped up good. It came from Canada, so with me being in the U.S., um, I've been surprised at how quick stuff gets here from Canada, though. They're really fast, their shipments. Okay, so let's see what's in this box. Some packing material. And I'm trying to keep it in the camera. So here are some samples. We will open these up and see what's in there. Ah, she sent me a belly plate to play around on. Thanks, that's nice. I don't have to get out any of my stuff. This is a, I don't know whose belly plate that is, but anyway, nice belly plate. Alrighty. So let's see, and that's everything that was in the box. Yeah, so let's open up what was in the box. This little package here. Let me turn this camera around because I want to get more on the table and less on me. Let me bring it down just a tad. Sorry about this, folks. Now, maybe y'all can see that more. Okay. And I'll explain some of this as we go. So this is the Shelly Marie Heat Set Agent. So she sent me a bottle of this to try. This is my first time trying it. It's a 4-ounce bottle, and I do know that she told me you need to shake it. This is pretty well true of anything you use in the paint products line, is you want to shake things well because of the ingredients needing to be mixed. This is some linseed oil, which she did tell me a little bit about this, and I'll go into that a little bit more in just a minute. And then the other thing she has sent me are pure pigments. These are pure pigments to play around with, and I'll tell you a little bit more about those as well. I can already tell one of them's leaked, so I need to, I'm probably going to need to put on a glove, let's see, to get them out. Lord knows I don't want to wind up with purple fingers. I think I'm out of gloves, too. I'm going to have to go to the beauty supply place to get some vinyl gloves. Alrighty. So in here we have, I think these are pretty well similar to the Reborn Effects line pigments. I think that they tried to match some of their colors. So let me tell you a little bit about what I know about pigments. When they first came out with their Reborn Effects air dry paints and pigments, they sold the pure pigments. That literally was like a bottle that was a dropper bottle. And it had a little dropper. You could open it up and drop out your pigments. And I think that's got tape on it. And that's a dark vein to match the dark vein of Reborn Effects. Okay. This is the eyelid purple. Looks like it is the one that's leaked. Anyway, so the pigments were great in that they were very pure, and you could just mix them with whatever products you use and create your own paint. But the pigments dried out pretty quick, and so there was complaints about the fact that that people would buy something that would dry up fast, and they couldn't use it up before it dried out. So they wound up discontinuing the pigments. Well, with this new heat set agent, she's wanting to revisit the idea of using the pure pigments to create your own colors, but they are working on a way to stabilize the pigments so that they won't dry out. And so that was why she sent me the linseed oil, because you can mix some linseed oil or any kind of oil in with pigment, and that will keep it from drying out as the oil coats the top. Rises to the top, I believe it is what she said, and makes it where it doesn't dry out so easily. But they're still investigating making mixes and looking at oils for the most pure, clearest oil on the market. So they're not, this is all still very much in the trial stage. So that's why I have been sent some of this to play around with. And as you can see, linseed oil is not, it's a little yellow. So they're looking for I think, an alternative because if they can do that, so this is my understanding, and I did have a long conversation with Shelly Marie about all this. So the heat set, the heat agent has a very long shelf life. Is very stable. The only thing is it needs to be shaken before you use it. The pigments can dry out if they develop their own paint line where they mix this in with the pigments. They have to have something besides this to stabilize the pigments so that they don't dry out themselves. And that's where the possibility of an oil or something is still being investigated. That's my understanding at this point. So that's a little bit of the background on that for you guys. Now, as far as the heat set agent, let's talk a little bit about what this is, because I have read some things online being made by people who are making erroneous assumptions that are not based on fact, and it's a little frustrating to me. I'm just going to go ahead and give you all my spiel on this. We're in an industry right now where one of our favorite beloved products has gone discontinued. Some people have surmised that maybe down the road Genesis might bring it back. I don't see any indication of that. Anything's possible. But in the meantime, artists are looking for alternatives, especially artists that don't want to go to air dry paints. So you are seeing a lot of people putting a lot of things out there right now. People are experimenting. People are experimenting with different things, either A, on the market already, making their own mixes, whatever. Um, Someone made the comment that this was another product that was being relabeled and repackaged by McPherson's and that it had formaldehyde in it. And this person claims to know what she's talking about. First of all, this was an assumption on her part, and that is also an erroneous assumption. So I know for a fact from talking to Shelly Marie for some time now that she's been working on developing this product. And it is a product that she developed with different ingredients that she put together and made to come up with this. And so the other thing is that it is, she said that it is not harmful, it is safe to use it, and they are working on getting their labeling that states that it is non toxic. And those kind of things take time. So in the meantime, it's they're out of trying to get something to the market for those of us that really want something, they're going ahead and putting out there for us to try it. Now, does that mean that it's a perfect product? It may be a perfect product for you, it may not. Just like any of this other stuff that's been put on the market right now, it may be a perfect product, it may not. We kind of all have become the test market for this, because the reality is that with there being such a massive need and desire for something quick, people are not going to have the time or to put into a lot of long-term testing. It's going to have to be tested as we go. That's been the basis of this art industry from the very beginning, is that somebody started playing with acrylic paints, painting the inside of dolls and painting them purple, started playing with makeups, pure pigmented makeups and blushes and that kind of thing, and blushing these Behringer dolls. And from that went to oil paints. And from there we evolved to where we are today. It has always been a trial and error art form. And a lot of things along the way have been developed that were fabulous to use. But in the process of learning what works and what doesn't work, there are going to be some mistakes. And what I don't like seeing is people getting crucified for it. Um, so please, we live in a day and age where all you see is people saying, be kind, be kind, be kind. But yet I see a lack of kindness. It's almost like be kind is a mantra for, if you agree with me, you are kind. But if I don't agree with you, I can treat you however I want to. And that's wrong, people. That's really wrong. So I wanted to get a little bit of my soapbox in there about that, is that regardless of who it is, I don't care who the company is. If if they have bad business practices and they're out doing things they shouldn't be doing and they're supporting knockoff kits and that kind of thing, that's a whole nother ball game. But if they're an honest person out there trying to develop a product and they're doing their best to come up with something, don't be so critical. I mean, I have seen two other ladies that are developing heat set products that have come under such criticism, and it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't understand why in this industry that there is a mindset that we can attack our own. Um, it's just not right. But anyway, I'm gonna shut up about that. So let's try some of this. So getting back to the heat set agent, what is the heat set agent? So there was also a question about is it solvent based or not? Because in Shelly Marie's in the videos that McPherson's put out, she made a comment about it being solvent. But then when there was some questions about that for the benefit of those that have allergies to certain solvents, Brenda come back and said, no, it does not contain any solvents. So that kind of seemed like um, a a discrepancy. I forget the word I'm trying to say, but anyway, it contradiction. That's the word I'm looking for. So I asked Shelly Marie in my long conversation with her last night. I said, "What exactly is this? In that, is it a solvent? Is it not a solvent? Is it what is how is this labeled?" And she said that in making the videos, she gets very nervous making the live videos, where I'll get on here and run my mouth, and I don't care who thinks what about me. Some other people that they're not comfortable with that. And so, in her trying to talk and make the video, she was very nervous, and she said that she didn't quite state it properly. But this is what it is. This is and I wrote this down so that I would make sure and tell you right. This is an oil-based product. This is an oil-based product. It is soluble in solvent, but not in water. So it is not a solvent. It is an oil-based product, but you need a solvent to break it down, thin it down, because it becomes soluble in a solvent. You do not want to add water to this because it is an oil-based product. Now, it is a product that is being marketed that you can mix it with your oil paints, and I'm sorry, with your acrylic paints. And I've got a couple here that we're going to test today. Let me grab them because we're going to try a couple of things. I've got some acrylic from Liquitex, and I've got, let's see what else we want to use. Got a bottle of gold in here. Oh, and let's try some Reborn FX if I can find one of those. Eyelid purple. All right, so there we go. All right, so we're going to play around with this. So if this is an oil-based product and it is soluble in a solvent, how are we able to mix it with an air dry paint? Because that is an acrylic, air dry acrylic that is water-based. So that is where your ratios come into play. When you are mixing this product with your air dry acrylic, you want a higher ratio of this product than you do paint, because you are trying to take this product and mix it into the air dry product so that it can disperse the water content of the air dry product in such a way that the heat set part of it takes over and it heat sets everything. Now, this is not Shelly Marie's definition. This is mine. So this is kind of how I was really thinking about this after we talked about this. And I was thinking about, have you ever made salad dressing where, because people say oil and water don't mix. Have you ever made salad dressing where you take like some vinegar, or I have a recipe where you take some Dijon mustard and I think it does have some vinegar in it, and then you add some kind of oil like olive oil or whatever to it, and then you take an immersion blender and you blend it with an immersion blender, and once you do that, it all comes together in a very creamy beautiful salad dressing that tastes really good, and you can pour that on your salad and it looks very nice and creamy and you can eat that. When you set that dressing aside and let it sit for a while, it begins to separate. So for a period of time there, you're able to mix it together and make it with the emulsion blender. So to my way of thinking, if you are mixing this in with the, if you're mixing this oil-based product in with the air dry product and you're adding a solvent, because this is oil-based and you're having a higher concentration, higher ratio of this, so you need solvent to thin it down, then you're doing kind of like, in my mind, what you do with the immersion blender. You're blending it long enough to get a good mix that you can apply it to the doll and then bake it. And once you bake it, the water and all that bakes out and you're left with your heat set paint color. So that's kind of the way I think of it. And Shelly Marie will, I'm sure, come back and watch this video. And please, Shelly Marie, if I have stated that wrong, correct me. But that's just kind of how I was thinking of it in my mind. But it is very important because I've read some people say that they've tried it, but that it came out sticky and tacky. And it's because you had too high of a paint ratio to your heat set agent. You've got to have a higher ratio of this. And the suggested starting point is 1 drop of paint to 15 drops of the heat set agent. So that is the suggested ratio to start with. And same with the pigments. And then she said, you know, you're going to have to play. We are, once again, I'll come back to what I said a while ago. We're all kind of part of the test market. So we're going to have to play with it and find out what works and what doesn't, and then go back and say, this worked for me, but this didn't work for me. I liked using it this way. I didn't like using it that way. I got this reaction here. I got this success there. And be helpful, not hurtful, in trying to figure out. And I'm not saying that just about this product. I'm saying this about every product that you're going to see coming down the pipe, because I've already seen on Bountiful Baby this week, I'm just going to go ahead and say there was a Phoenix air dry paint, and I saw someone say that they tried mixing it up. It looked grainy. It did not look like their Genesis. They didn't like it. They didn't like it. And so that's already somebody who didn't like that. Well, it could have been the way they mixed it. It could have been the product. We don't know. So, you know, that's the thing we've got to see is over time, we've all got to figure this out, how we're going to best be able to use these things if we're going to try alternatives. Okay, enough of that said. Hopefully I've explained this enough to where you all now know kind of where I'm coming from and what the right and wrong way to do. So I've got me a palette here. We're gonna play around with this now. The other thing I wanted to do was smell of this. Now, I can't really smell super good, like I mentioned a while ago, but I wanted to see if I could detect any smell. There are some air dry products that I've used that have smells. They definitely would have a smell, but they did not bother me, but they might bother other people. And if you're one of these people that has lupus, or you have asthma, or you might have super sensitive sinuses like I do, or whatever, then you may have a problem to some ingredient. Just like I have a problem with odorless thinners. I cannot tolerate them, even though they are odorless. They send me over the edge. But that doesn't mean that I should go out here and say, oh gosh, odorless thinners are bad products. Nobody should use them. Because just because I can't use them doesn't mean that other people or the majority might not be fine with them. So that's the other thing, is we've all got to try these things and see what works for us. All right, I'm going to unscrew the lid. Okay, it does have a slight scent. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I'm having to stick my nose down in the jar to smell it, but it does, and it's just very slight to me. I don't know, kind of like I would say a paint scent. So it does have a slight scent. So if you are highly sensitive to scents, you may not can use it. You may can. Once again, we're going to find out as I use this if it bothers me or not. Let me grab a little mixing stick. I love these things right here, y'all. I get them off of Amazon, and they're just little makeup lip brushes, and they have the soft bristles, and they're just awesome for mixing with paints, and then you throw them away after you use them a time or two, and you don't have a lot of money tied up in that. So I'm going to grab a couple of those. I use them for silicone a lot. I use them for this. The other thing is we're going to try to see if my neutral thin works as a solvent with these paints. Now, Shelly Marie has tested it with odorless thinner. But she has not tested it with this product. So we're going to try, and I've got some in a squirt bottle here that I've labeled that I use when I'm painting with Genesis. So we're also going to try that. So the first thing I want to do, let's see. I don't know that I'm going to get into the pigments right now, simply because I've got to play around with those and figure out what works. And I don't want to carry this out too long, but also they're leaky, and I don't want to I don't want to deal with that right now. But what we're going to do is test it with these 3 products that I have here. So I'm going to start with the Golden. Now also, because your solvent will evaporate some and that kind of thing, you've got a limited working time. I think she said of about an hour or so with your air dry paint mixed with these. So you have to mix as you paint. You can't mix a lot in advance and save it. You can, if it starts to dry out a little bit, add a little more of your odorless thinner or whatever solvent you're using. In my case, we're going to try this. But after a certain amount of time, that window has kind of gone by on that, because the air dry paint itself will start to separate out and set up. So that is something. This one's not been open. I have one over here that has. It's the same color. Let's see. I can get my hands on it. I'm going to tuck back here because I haven't been using them. We'll just open this one. I don't have time to go digging. So this is violet oxide, which is to me a very warm color. I like when I'm painting with air dry, I use it like for creases. See, I got that on my finger already. Let me find a napkin. Okay. So we're going to put 1 drop of this. Tilt my palette thing down. So we're going to put 1 drop of paint. And we're going to put 15 drops of the heat agent, which I'm going to shake up. Getting that burgundy paint everywhere. All right, so 15. 1, 2. We get a little bit big drops, but oh well. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. If you get a little more, it's not going to hurt. You can cut it. It's going down to the lesser side that you have to kind of experiment with. She said she had cut it down to 10 drops in some mixes and done okay. So now you have to mix it, and you have to continuously mix it until it takes it a minute to really start dispersing the water-based properties of the Golden. So at first it looked a little tacky. Now it's starting to look a little more smooth. But it's still too thick. So this is where you want to add the solvent. So we're going to try some of my citrus solvent, and we're going to find out if it works. And it should, since it works with Genesis, but we'll see. I think I put 9 drops in there, but I don't know that it matters. I just added some. Now, the one thing about the citrus solvent that I'm using that I will state is that it is, because it is citrus oil based, it is an oily solvent. So I find that it gives more slide to the paint, more like an oil paint, and it does not flash off as fast as odorless thinner. So it gives you, you have to wait a little bit longer for things to flash off before you put it in the oven. I have pushed that a little bit and put it in when it was still damp in spots. But, so just know that the citrus thinner is a little more oily and does not flash off as fast, or evaporate as fast, which might be a good thing when you're doing this with the air dry paint, since you're not wanting them to dry out. All right, that looks pretty good. That looks mixed to me. All right, so it appears to be mixing just fine with that product. So we're going to paint some on this baby and see what it looks like. Let's see, where do we want to start? Guess we'll start over here on the side. We're going to paint some on. And then I'm going to get me a wedge. We've already got one. So sometimes when you get these wedges, they've got little ridges on the end of them, so I have to take a pair of scissors and cut it flat because those ridges will leave marks in your paint. So just cut the end of it off so that it's flat. All right, so I've got my wedge, that and my wedge, and I'm going to take this and pounce it out. So this is very thin and translucent looking, actually. I don't know if it's showing up on there as good because of my overhead light. Let me try putting a little more color on it. So for those of you that really like the translucent Genesis Colors look, this is definitely looking translucent, which is good because a lot of people, that's been the biggest complaint about air dry paints, is that they didn't feel like they could get them translucent enough. All right, this I can tell you right now from looking at my screen that this overhead light is, let me get the bottom pounced, is making it look a little more washed out. But anyway, maybe if I tilt it down, can you see it now? If I tilt it down, that's more the color. So there's that one. Wipe my brush off. So that was the Golden Violet Oxide. So the next one we're going to try is and this is one that Shelly Marie said she had not tried, and that is the Liquitex brand. This is Primary Red in the Liquitex acrylic gouache. Now these are not traditional gouache paints. They're called acrylic gouache, which means that they have the look and matteness of a gouache, but they are an acrylic air dry paint. So we're going to use this. I'm going to put a drop in our well. And this is a thicker paint. You can see right there, it's very thick. I'm going to add 15 drops of the heat set agent. Now, by the way, the only thing I smell in my mix is my citrus. I can smell that little bit of citrus smell. I don't smell any of this product. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, that's 15 drops of that. Gonna mix them together. Now this one being a thicker paint to start with, this Liquitex, I can already tell it's when I started mixing it, it had that drag that it kind of wants to go gummy. And that's what you got to keep mixing to get past. And then when you add your solvent, it should bring it all down to where it's fine. Let's try some solvent. I'll need to add a little more solvent in this one. So we're going to see if this acrylic gouache works or not. It may. It may not work on that one. It's very thick. Now, once again, you may have different results with odorless thinner because I'm using the citrus. We'll try adding a little more of this citrus. Well, that's interesting. It's, well, there it goes. Now it's spinning down. Okay, let's try painting some of that on our belly and see what it looks like. I'll try to go up here. So you got like a pinky red color. We'll just cut the end off of this so I can reuse it. This looks a little more hard to explain. I don't know if it's showing up on there. It has a little more texture to it. But it's pouncing out then. So we'll see. We're going to bake it and then we'll come back over it with some solvent and see if it comes off. All right, so that's the Liquitex, and then the last thing we're going to try is the Eyelid Purple in the Reborn Effects line. One drop of paint. I think my hole's plugged up. I haven't opened this in a while. All right. Nothing like being on live video and having something not cooperate. This is an older paint that I have not used in a while. I've had it for several years, so it may be gotten dry in the bottle, gotten air in the bottle. Yep, that color's, all right, we're going to toss that one and grab another one. Some of my Reborn Effects paints are literally, I've had since before they developed them, so back to like 2016 or so. So some of those test colors are, some of these are still the original test colors. All right, this is a Red Blood Reborn Effects. Let's see if it works, comes out. There we go. Oops. A little bit bigger drop, but that'll be all right. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've kind of got 11, 12. I'm going to do 13 because I've gotten some right there at the beginning. I got some gushy, big glob came out. All right, let's see. I'm going to grab the extra that's pulled around the top too. All right, so we're going to mix this. This is the Reborn Effects paint mixed with the heat set agent. This is, once again, when you start mixing it, it has a tendency to go a little bit tacky and have a bit of a drag, but then as the more you mix it, the better it gets. And that is the reaction of the oil-based heat set agent being mixed in with this water-based acrylic. Okay, and that's a little more creamy now. I'm going to add my solvent. Once again, I'm using EcoHouse Extra Mild Citrus Thinner as my solvent because I'm allergic to odorless thinner. Those of you that use your odorless thinners, it will work just fine. We're testing to make sure that my citrus thinner will work. That's one of the tests that I had told Shelly Marie that I wanted that we would do. So that one's a little bit thicker too, just like the, and I might could thin it down. I mean, I could go thinner, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go about like the others. All right, we're going to paint this on here. So we've got, down here we've got the, well, let me tilt it so you can see. Down at the bottom we've got the golden, then we have the Liquitex, and now we're going to put up here the Reborn Effects. All right, let me cut my sponge off to a clean spot. And we're going to pounce that one out. So interestingly enough, it looks a little more like the Liquitex. It has just, as you pounce it, it looks just a little bit textured, but then the more you pounce it, the more it goes out fine. Okay. So there you can see is your Reborn Effects, your Liquitex, and your golden. So the next thing I've got to do is heat set this for 9 minutes at 265 to 270. So I am going to go do that now. I'm going to stop this video right now, and I will come back with part 2 and show you my heat set belly plate, because I'm not going to have you all sit here waiting with me for 9 minutes. Alrighty, so I don't see any comments over there on my screen. Feel free to write comments and tell me what you think so far of what you've seen. Ask any questions. If I can answer them, I will. And I will go heat set this, and I'll catch you guys in about 10 minutes.